Good evening, everyone. I bless you all in the mighty name of Jesus, and I hope that today you're going to enjoy a new session of parenting time to learn with our new topic today, which is a topic that I hope is going to be full of information for each and every one of us as parents. And as you can see, we're going to be talking about how to deal with difficult children and especially children that we call teenagers that many people have in their homes. Um, I'm Dr. Regine, and as you know, I'm not here only as a parent who is trying to give information to other parents. I'm here as a mother, as an education specialist, someone who has worked with teenagers for many, many years. I'm here as someone who thinks that parents need some education because I also do need education in terms of how to deal with teenagers in our world today. It's not an easy task because the children of today are not like the children of before, of old. The way we grew up is not the way they are growing up, and the challenges are going to be even more as we move on in time. And because the challenges that they're going to go through come from their childhood these days. They are more exposed to things that we were not exposed with when we grew up. So we have to be very, very demanding sometimes. We also have to be very understanding because the children of today don't have the same, um, I would say, the same abilities and the same capacities that we had. For instance, even communication has become a problem in families. So, as you know, I'm Dr. Regine. I'm just inviting you to be my guest actually tonight as we're going to go through parenting time to learn. So, what are we going to learn? How to deal with our teenagers, how to deal with teenagers. I'm a mother of, well, one is already no longer a teenager, but I still have a teenager. And I think I thought it was going to be a very interesting topic tonight to remind people of what teenage is. Why? Because we ourselves as parents, we tend to forget. How was your teenage? What did you do as a teenager? What are the things that were so important to you when you were a teenager? You see, when we forget that and our children start acting in a certain way, we also find ourselves in places where we we're struggling. We struggle because we don't know how to deal with them. But it's important for us to remember that all of us we were teenagers, and as a teenager, you've got to remember your own ways of doing things, those ways that actually brought your parents to um, I would say to educate you in a certain way. So ask yourself first as a parent, how was I as a teenager? What did I do as a teenager? What happened to me when I was a teenager? What are the challenges that I had when I was a teenager? What are the things that I went through? How was I mentally as a teenager? Because when you start asking yourself those questions, it will be easy for you to understand your teenager today. Now, the first thing I want to say is that understanding teenagers or the behavior of teenagers is actually something complicated because it's difficult for us as parents to understand the brain of a child. When you were a teenager, maybe your parents used to think that you are brainless. And today, you yourself find yourself looking at your child thinking, what is this child doing? Where is their brain? You see? So it's important to ask also those key questions. If you want to understand the teenager's brain, what I mean by brain is what they are thinking today. It's difficult for us to do as parents if we compare ourselves to them. Because at that time, you didn't have the internet, for instance. At that time, you didn't have the things that they are having today, video games. You know, children of today like to either be outside or lock themselves in. At that time, we didn't have these problems. You wanted maybe to just go around with friends to the movies, do this, do that, and that was it. But the teenagers of today have another reality that us as parents have to understand. And when we are trying to understand that, We have to ask ourselves the question I just asked. And also, what are teenagers experiencing during turbulent years? What am I calling is turbulent years is actually the years where they are trying to grow from childhood to teenager and then from teenager to adulthood. That are turbulent years. You yourself went through a lot of things during that time. Did you start smoking? Did you go out often and your parents were always shouting at you? Did you get pregnant in that time? At that time, you know, those turbulent years that are very specific because they are the years where a child is actually trying to self-discover, and at the same time they still have the education at home, they still have the parents behind, they've got friends, and so they are trying to socially uh, uh, build an identity, and at the same time they have all these challenges of understanding themselves. So, and it can bring lots of practices that we may not even be aware of, or us as parents, or the things that we are looking at and we are observing, thinking, oh my God, where's my child going? It's just because they are in turbulent years. And many parents don't know that their child, who is a teenager, is in turbulent years. And the problem with turbulent years is that it starts with puberty. When, puberty is that time when their body changes, their way of thinking changes, the way even that they look at people changes. I'll give you an example. You can see someone who start looking at women because he's changing. I mean, I'm talking about a young boy looking at women because he's changing, or a young girl looking at young boys because he's changing. That is the time that they want to go to party, to start having boyfriends, girlfriends, you see. And sometimes it's difficult for us as parents to understand that. And that is a normal, I would say, normal thing, a normal behavior, because our hormones change, and there is a neuro biological change that happens that you and I, as parents, we cannot control, and the children go through that. Even though we sometimes want to deny it, or keep it in a safe place so that the child would not self-discover quickly, my friend, you may try to prevent all these things, but it will still happen because it is a natural phenomenon on a child. It's something natural for a child to self-discover from the age of puberty, because they see their body changing. Whether you want to close your eyes on that, they will see it. Okay, therefore that should invite us parents to change our way of seeing our child too, the way to talk to them, the way to address them, because of course their brain is developing, um, and taking them to where they will become adults. But at that time, when there are shifts happening in their lives, we also have to have some shifts, because those shifts are pushing their emotions to be different. This is the time when you can even see children who used to hug, let's say a boy who used to hug the mother, now finding it hard. It's not that they are rejecting you as a mother, it's that they start feeling things in their body that they were like, they're observing, they're self discovering, remember? So they think, oh no. I remember once my child, I think he was in year 7, so around 10 years old, I guess. Um, at home, I always have called him Lulu, Lulu, Lulu. And then one day we were in the bus, I'm taking him to school, and then we got to the school, and I'm like, Lulu. It's like, Mom, my friends are here. My friends are here. I'm like, come on. you know? For me, it's a natural thing. I'm not even thinking. So he was elbowing me like, Mom, can't call me here. Can't call me Lulu here. My friends are here watching, listening. And then later on, I said, so what's the issue? You can just tell them that that's how my mom calls me. He said, no, no, no. Then they will be calling me Lulu. You see, and I could see he was embarrassed by that. You see, so should I continue not listening to him and just call him Lulu? He's growing up. It has never been a problem when he was in primary school. Throughout the years he was in primary school, that he was not self-discovering. I was calling him Lulu when I picked him up from the nursery, from primary school. It was not a problem. But now that he starts seeing himself, now he discovers that he's a unit, he's a unique person. He doesn't want to be called like that. You see, it's because there is a process happening. And how to deal with our teenagers can become very complicated when we don't understand that. How do you deal with a teenager if you don't understand those things. This is where we can see reckless behaviors within our homes, where we did not educate our children and in a way that they start behaving and they are so reckless that we think, oh my God, what's happening to my child? Have I missed their education? No, you didn't miss your education. It's just that you need to readapt, because risky teenage behavior starts from the time when there is a total misunderstanding at home, and misunderstanding that pushes the child to try and actually build themselves up by their own means, without the parents, without the carers, without people looking at what they're doing. You see, that's when they become very risky. They adopt risky behaviors, because it's a withdrawal behavior where they start withdrawing indeed. Now, what also we can see during those times of what I call times of turbulence in a child's I mean, on a teenager which growing up, is that they can use substance, they can use even alcohol, drinking, sex, smoking. All these things can be part of their new search of identity. You see, it's actually a search of identity that is urging them to get into that kind of behavior, because that kind of behavior is actually a way for them maybe to identify to a group of people. Your child did not just start smoking by like that. You will see that maybe they are going around or walking with people who are smoking, so they want to try. I remember myself when I was a teenager. I think I was around 14 years old, and I was in Paris, and I used to play we say handball, okay, handball. Some people say handball or handball. I used to play that, and I was in a team. And this team, we used to go on tournaments every weekend. And in the week, in when we go on tournaments every weekend, almost everyone was smoking. When we came to practice, it was once in a week. Everyone was smoking. So while we were on one of those tournaments, I tried. Thank God I didn't like it. You see, so it was not my intention. If I had been in a group of people who did not smoke, I would not have tried. And I remember that I coughed the way I've never coughed in my life. And I thank God for the cough. I thank God for that cough. That made me to understand that this is not for me. That's how I never actually smoked again. Amen. So, but I'm just trying to explain how it came. So it's just to say that, just like toddlers, when you have a toddler at home, you say, don't do this, don't do this. He will try and do what you said don't do, because he wants to test it. And it's the same thing when our teenagers grow. There's a time when they want to try things by themselves. They want to experience things by themselves. Unfortunately, those things that they are trying most of the time are not necessarily good for them, and they can develop bad habits out of just trying something. And we have to be very vigilant, because teenagers in that turbulent time, okay, from I would say 12 years old till um, roughly 19. Okay, it's actually when you say teen, yeah, because you say 11, 12, and you start 13. The teen race starts at 13, from 13, yeah. So from 13 to 19, because after 19, you say 20, then they're no longer in the teens anymore. So that period is very, very complicated. And we need to really remember that it can bring lots of them to become violent while they were not violent before, because of all this process that is happening in them, that no one has taken time to understand. No one has spoken to the child. No one has spoken to them in a way that they can really express their feelings as they are growing up. Now, and sadly, what most parents do is that when they even notice a risk behavior in a teenage, um, they will always stress on external factors, the things that are happening outside the house. They will actually focus on the friends that they have or the people they are working with, but they will not try and really understand the child. It's easy to tell your child, stop doing this, or stop walking with this one, my friend. They will tell you yes, but trust me, they have an appointment to meet the person next day. So what I'm trying to say here is that we cannot, at this time, from 13 to 19, be those people imposing our views on our child. It's too late anymore. You cannot impose. I don't like you walking with this person. I don't like you doing this. I don't like you that. They are already in college. They are already in a place where they are building friendship by themselves. So you are no longer the one choosing their friends who comes to your birthday, who doesn't come. You see what I mean? Therefore, you cannot be the one picking and choosing who they're going to see or who they're not going to see. That is actually a way to make them withdraw from you, get so far from you that it will be difficult for you to deal with their risky behaviors or whatever they're trying to do, that sometimes they do even to push the parents, further than where the parents can should be, or should be just to help them. Now, external factors have less impact in our teenagers if at home there is a solid ground, a solid basis. External factors will have very, very little impact. And the teenager who find themselves even in risky behaviors will kind of run away, because they know that it's not something they should do because of what is happening at home. What I'm trying to say here is that many children find themselves fighting out there, carrying weapons, participating in unsafe activities, things that are not good at all, just because they don't want to be at home. Just because at home there's not a good, I would say, environment. At home, they feel that it the things that are happening there are not good enough for them. So they will actually turn towards risky behaviors as a way for them to let off steam. And you see, but parents won't even understand that way. We will say, oh, you're just a bad boy, you're just a bad girl, you're doing only thing, everything you're doing is just bad, you're pushing us. It's not about you, it's about what the child is trying to express. It reminds me of a movie I watched long, long time ago. I think it was a movie by Spike Lee. I think it was Do the Right Thing. I'm not sure about the title, but I know it was by Spike Lee. So there was this family that one son become, I would say, a thief, a bandit, a homeless person, and the other one was a medical doctor. Can you imagine? So now there was a family reunion, and then the parents, of course, all the eyes were on this one who succeeded, and then this one came, and they were looking at him like, "Oh, you are just a failure of the family." But the fact is that something is important that he said. He said, "Well, you never actually looked at me." You see, so he was actually telling the parents that it's not today you're going to look at me because I'm a failure. So actually, before he became a failure that was now visible, he was already a failure within the house, but the parents never looked at it. The parents never paid attention to him. The parents never were there for him the way he expected them to be. So they paid more attention to the one that they saw had more potential and pushed that one. And of course, that one succeeded. But this one, he self built himself outside. He made choices to go outside because he didn't have the support and all the, I would say, the love that he expected to have from his own parents from home. So it's important for us as parents to observe, you know, risky behavior just don't start like that. They don't just start. There is a trend, there is something happening. It goes step by step, but it ends up happening as the child grows up and as a child is defining his own environment. So you as a parent, if you are not paying attention, you'll be surprised. You will just be surprised like anyone else out there. But um, we still have ways to to to, to observe things, and I want to talk about that now. So the question today is how to deal with a teenager who maybe difficult. How to deal with a teenager. Now, first thing, parents need to create a clear limits around the home. Clear limits. As much as you create limits, create consequences as well. You see, they've got to know that they're still living in your home. They've got to know that they cannot decide and do whatever they want because they are still with you, and my home, my rules. Okay, and that is something that you need to make clear for for them. Dr. Regine is a mother who raised two. I know what happened here. Sorry about that. Okay, so you have to make sure that everything that that you do has clear limits for the child, and that the consequences If the child does not abide or do what you're saying, the consequences will follow. And if you are, especially with a child that is causing issues, problems, you need to have a direct approach with the child. Don't, if your child does something today, it's not tomorrow you're going to talk to them. Your approach has to be direct. You have to deal with problems as they come. So, number one, set limits is important. Parents have to set limits for their children, set boundaries. The child needs to know. Children of today, parents will give them too much liberty, you give them too much power. There are children who put their mouth in the business of parents as if they are not supposed to. Let your child be a child, okay? The rules that you put down are for the child to follow. It's not for you to put rules and the child doesn't even know what to do with the rules because you're not implementing them. So if you want your child to be safe and to stay safe, you need to be sure to keep harmony, not only in your family, but also even in your couple. Make sure that the things that you're doing don't involve the children and the child is not there. That's where you find teenagers taking, sides, even teenagers backing up a parent to go and fight the other one. No, no, no. It should not happen because that kind of behavior will have consequences later on them. On them, they won't know how to deal with other people. Now, you can also, because now we are dealing with teenagers, we're not dealing with children. We have to make sure that we agree on consequences. Sit down with your child, sit down as a parent with your child, and agree on age appropriate consequences so that they know that it is an agreement. A child understands what an agreement is. The child knows what an agreement is, but you need to tell them that this is what is going to happen if this happens, okay? Or if you didn't do this or you did this, based on what you're trying to tell them, there is a consequence, and this is the consequence. But the fact is that you've got to agree on the consequences together. You see, then they have the moral agreement towards you to make sure that you don't apply the consequences on them. Because when you apply the consequences on them, while they did not know, you are actually bringing war at home. You are bringing disobedience. You are bringing a child who's going to say, I'm not getting this. You see? However, when you spoke together, you say, okay, I told you not to come back late. If you come late, this is going to happen. Then the child comes late and then you implement what you are trying to do here is what? If you are living on a house that, the child can jump off the window, they will jump off the window to defy you, you, to challenge your authority, to show you that, hey, I'm a teenager now, I can talk, I can do. They will do that. They will do that. Okay? Listen, remember when you yourself were a child, what happened? I remember when I was, I think I was 12 years old, around 12 years old. And there was a party somewhere. My mom said I shouldn't go. I should not go. And then when she went inside the house, I pretended that I was in there. When she went in, the first thing I did was I was out, following everyone else. But I think my mom's words were so powerful. This woman of faith made it. I don't know what she did, that as I was on the way, I heard myself and I had to go back home. I heard myself, but badly, like badly. Yes. And I had to go back home. But now, what are you going to say? You are supposed to be in. Why are you out? What did you go and find out? So the first thing was like, didn't I tell you not to go? So not only you are being helped and you are being summoned at the same time, my friend. It's not easy. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is that sometimes we need to make sure that the child knows exactly what the consequences are. Tell them. Children understand. Okay. Tell them so that they know that the privileges they might lose, the things that may be stopped. And one thing, let me tell you, parent, if you have set, agreed on consequences, apply what you said. Don't ever miss it once. You miss it once, you have actually given them the license to disobey you and the license to be free in your own house. Now, we also have to, we can also use ways to bring a child to, like not a bargain. Don't ever bargain with your child. Never. Like, okay, it may not be a bad consequence. It might be something that they must do if they break the law, that it makes sense, the law, the rules in your house, something that they can do in addition, like for instance, they are not doing the dish. So it's not punishment. It's just like you're going to be helping in something that maybe you were not doing before, or something that has stopped you stopped them doing that, out of maybe giving them time, or because they're teenagers, they need to live their lives. But now you say, okay, you're going to resume and do it again. So it's not punishment, but you understand what I'm trying to say. Bring them back into something that can be that that will allow them to regain your trust as a parent. Okay, it can be something that they used to do before that you stopped, that and then they will understand that to regain it, to be restituted what they lost, the privilege they lost, they've got to get your trust. That is not necessarily a punishment. The next thing I want to talk about is that we need to avoid severe punishment. A child 13 years old to 19 is not a child that you're going to just beat up as if there is, they are 5 years old. No, you need to adapt the punishment to the age. Severe punishment is not best when you're dealing with teenagers. No, 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 no. Punishment can make things worse. You see, we have seen it even in society. There are many people that were sent to prison, but when they come back from prison, they are worse than even when they went. There are people who don't take punishment that way, that the way it should. I mean, it's not producing. It won't be productive. It won't produce something constructive. It will actually bring an advert reaction. So some teenagers may feel rejected or become resentful because of punishment. So we and create more distance between the parents and themselves. That is the reason why we need to make sure that we measure the level of our punishment, and the punishment has to be thought of. Okay, and I hope that you're being blessed so far. So let me now give you a few tools of how you can improve your communication with your teenager. Okay, now as I said earlier, teenagers are under a process. Puberty started, and mood can change up and down. Listen, it's just like everyone. Look at children, yeah. When they are moving from from toddler to walking, they cry because they're going through a process that they didn't get. Okay? When teeth are coming out, they cry because it's painful. So even women, men who are getting old, the mood change. So what do you expect? A teenager who is in the process of changing, because the body physically is changing. Young men, you can start hearing, oh, the big voice. You call, hey, yes, mom, yes, dad. You're like, whoa, who's that? Who is my house here now? You see, so all these processes, imagine how scary it can be. It's not because they don't express it. It's not because we don't express it. Me as a woman, I remember, when you start having breasts, every day you're in the mirror looking, thinking, oh my God, what's happening here? It's not that you've never heard about breasts. It's not that you didn't see people with breasts, but it is happening to you as a person. It is happening to me. Okay. You start having shape, and then you start looking at those things. So imagine all the things that are getting in our minds. And those things, of course, affect our emotions. They affect us because there are days, there are good days, and there are bad hair days. You see? And sometimes that can affect a teenager's behavior too. And as a parent, if you don't have communication with your child, if you don't communicate most of the time with your child, you won't even notice those changes. You won't notice the things that are happening because, well, there's no communication. And you see, imagine that child. Right now, I'm going to talk about a young boy, a teenager boy, who looks at himself becoming different, okay? And the society is pushing him and expecting him to become a bit more a man, but he's not ready in his head, you see, and he doesn't want to be pushed because he still wants to be that young boy at the same time, even though he does not understand all everything. So can we just see the mixed emotions that teenagers can have? That's actually what I'm trying to say here. We ourselves went through that, but we have forgotten because it's been 10 years for some people, 30 years for others, 50 years for others. Well, and many things happened that made you to forget your teenage years. How you have forgotten about your emotions, except for those that are very, very significant or that marked you or touched you. You see what I mean? But the every single day things that you went through, you will forget them, or at least when you're dealing with your child or a child, you will forget. They won't just come like that, banging in your head, and then you say, "Oh yeah, this is. I understand why this one is doing this because this is what I also went through." No. So parents of teenagers, stop being frustrated. Stop being, stop feeling ignored by your child. If you see the child is withdrawing a little bit, all you need to understand is that um, you have to build a communication pattern with your child and make it short. Keep it short. Listen, the way you were giving instructions to a child before, da, 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 do you hear me? Do you listen? Da, 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 da. Please, if you do that with a teenager, you are annoying. That's why you're going to hear him, you are annoying me. You see? Because they already have their timetable. They only have the things they want to do, and you want to speak, 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 speak. No, it doesn't work like that. Make it short. If you got something that you need or something you want to tell them, just tell them. Go straight to the point. Make yourself clear. Everything you say has to be clear. And then they will get it and do as you are saying or whatever you expect them to do. But don't write a novel in front of a teenager. You're not reading a book to a child who is 3 years old. Do you understand? You need to understand. Now, one other thing, don't overdo the eye contact. Don't. You see, they are not teenagers. They are not teenagers, okay? It's good to have eye contact, but um, it's not. When you are dealing with your teenager, you have to be very careful because they have grown already, okay? And eye contact is not necessarily synonymous to the child is listening to you. Okay, so you can be speaking to your child. Listen, we are in the time when the children these days, first of all, they've got the mobile phone that you gave them. Now you're speaking to them, and they don't. They are there like this. Yeah, they are on the phone. It doesn't mean that they're not listening. You see, some parents, can't you look at me when I'm speaking? It's good, but my friend, remember what I said earlier. A child between 13 and 19 has their own friends, their own timetable, their own games they want to play. So they can be listening to you without looking at you. Of course, what is polite would be for them to just drop what they're doing to listen to you. That would be polite. That is what we all would like to see. But if that is not happening right now, right there at that moment, it should not be an occasion, an opportunity for you to shout at your teenager. No, it should not be. Stay calm, in fact. Stay calm. Talk while you're in action because you also have things to do. Speak to them. Continue what you're doing, but stay calm. Stay calm with your children. Okay? It's not something, it's not war. You're not the one as a parent to bring war at home. No. And give the child time to process. This is something that I learned with my own teenagers, with my children, when one of them was, who is no longer a teenager, was that I realized that I did not give him time to process the information because I'm always speed. Puff, 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 I'm going here, there, they're doing this, doing that, doing that. So, and he needed that time to process, and I didn't get it until I understood. So many teenagers need a few hours sometimes, even days, to think about an important conversation. You see, give them time to process what you're saying, and don't be disappointed if your teenager does not change their behavior after you have had a conversation with them. They need time to process. They need time to realize what they're doing. They need time to see what they've done. So give them that time. Take the time that they need, amen, so that they can be in the place that they can truly, truly, truly see what needs to be done by themselves. Because remember that when you're speaking to a child, they will always have the feeling that the information is only coming from you. So, well, where's my concern? Where's my business? It's only you who complains. It's only you who've got a problem. It's only you who sees this. Okay. And by the way, you're my parents. So it's not important because other people don't see what you see. See? So that's the mentality. That's what you're gonna have in their head. You see? Now, the bottom line about raising teenagers is simple. Some parents feel that the teenagers has no interest in them because now they are turned towards other things. My friend, it's not a competition. The child remains yours, whether you want or not. So allow the child to live their lives. Their social life starts from home. There are times, like I'll give an example. My sister told me yesterday. She said, "Oh, say hi to your boys when you see them." I said, "Oh, I may not see them, but I hear them. We talk." It's true. It's true because they are in their rooms. Sometimes I speak through the corridor, you see, but they answer back. But I see them when it's time to eat. I see them. There are times, but I don't need to be behind them all the time. They need their space because now they are teenagers. They are teenagers. There's going to be a time they're going to leave and go and live in their homes. Will I see them every single day? That's the question I'm asking you, parent, who are always behind your teenager. Why do you need to see him or her every minute, every time? The day that they start having boyfriend, girlfriend, what do happens? They will leave. They will live their own lives. It's normal that they can spend 1 or 2 days without calling you. You see, when they build their own family, they won't call you every single day. So we also need as parents to have that sense of start being detached. We cannot take our children with emotions all the time. Why don't you call me? Why don't you speak to me? Oh, why? No, they need to live their lives. They need to live their lives. So, a healthy teenage parent relationship is important because it helps the teenage to grow into strong, independent people. But if you're always behind them, how would that happen? How can parents of teens help them? By withdrawing a little bit, give them some space, allow them their mistakes. And when they make mistakes, don't shout at them, guide them, lead them, show them the way to take. Become their friend while you're still a parent. Because you see, this is no longer the time you can beat them up. Mm-mm. Some of us here, look at me. My children are like that. This is the distance between my height and theirs. Where are we going to go if I want to start fighting physically with them? No, it's not even a matter of even talking about that. It's a matter of saying that we've got you have to adapt to your child as the child is growing. Parent, listen to me. If you don't adapt to your child, and I can say this as an education specialist, a work I have done for 11 years, that the greatest conflict that I have seen in families is that the parents, and most of the time mothers, have not understood that the child has grown. Mothers have not understood that the child needs independence. And that creates a lot of family issues, a lot of dissensions, a lot of divisions within the family. Now, interaction with your child as a parent needs to be done with a lot of care, with a lot of love, with a lot of compassion, with a lot of patience. You cannot uh, uh, deal with your teenager as if they're adult. You have to let them be teenagers, but at the same time, you have to keep them in a place where they build themselves up despite your presence, despite whatever you're saying. So your help is certain, but your help has to also be minimal. If a child does not make mistake, how would they know what is good or what is not? If the child does not um, you don't even allow them to go on the street by themselves. You've got to be there. I've seen that working as an education specialist where a child was now over 13 and trying to take the child out. The parent is like, I must come with you. I said, why? Allow us to go. Because the parent, thinks that their presence is better. But while you're there, and I experienced this twice, where I said to the parent, allow me to go out with the child. That child behaved very well that time on the street. But and I'm talking about a teenager. But when the parent were there, even though I said to the parent to stay in the distance and working with the child, come and see how the child was even answering. Just the fact that the comfort of knowing that the parent is not far, they just become a baby again. They become a baby. See, and it's not just about talking about mental sickness. No, that yeah, maybe the child has mental issues, but I'm talking about children around the parents, even those who are very well. The child who is very well, the way they speak, if the parents are there, it's not the way they speak when they are with friends and the parents are not there. You see, so we need to understand all these things, put all these things together, and I pray that as parents, we really, really uh, have the capacity and the ability to adapt to our children because it is important. When the children don't see the adaptation of the parents to their situation or to their new identity, to their new search of who I am, it creates a lot of self-conflict as well. That's where you're gonna hear your child saying, "You don't even know what I'm going through. Huh? You don't understand me. It's not fair." What can a child base their fairness on if it's not on the balance that the parents are offering them? Because the balance is not found outside. In fact, outside world is there to challenge the balance that the parents are creating. So if the basis of the balance is not perfect, if the basis of the balance is not solid, when the outside world comes, they will make the child understand that there's no balance here. So throw what is here, throw it out. Come, we're going to offer you some more balance. And we need to really understand that. That is the reason why many of our children are in danger out there, the teenagers. They're trying to find comfort away from home because there's no balance at home. There's no comfort to be found at home. There is no understanding of who they are at home. And that is where we are right now in this society today. Now, before I finish, the extreme part, oh my God, is over understanding the child. Not to even say becoming dumb, stupid. Yes, that's the word before your child. You want to protect them so much that you give them everything, that you go beyond and above without ever allowing them to even breathe by themselves. No, you can no longer, as a parent, do the bedroom of your child. No, I don't do the bedroom of my children anymore. The one who is still a 17, sometimes I do, but it's actually, well, it's my checking time. Yeah. Okay. Because you need, but even if I do, it is actually to give him guidance. This needs to be done. And then I will check that he's doing it. You cannot over protect a child. No, you cannot overprotect a teenager. They need to learn from themselves. They need to go out there, face the wind, face every form of adversity. Because you see, we are not eternal. The day you're not there, what will happen to them? The day you are not there, what will happen to them? Be a loving parent. Be a parent who deals with your teenager with compassion, with a love of understanding, with patience. Then the child, in return, as they understand the meaning of all that you're doing, they will become a better person in society because man can give only what man has. But what man has, where did he get it from? Home. Parents, we've got a great responsibility over our children. We've got a great responsibility over their future. We've got great things to do. We've got to accompany them, especially in a world that is going wide as it is going now, with all that is happening right now. If we don't stand strong, we cannot help our children to succeed in this world. Adversity is bigger today than it was in the past. That is the reason why our children have to be prepared. So if you have a teenager that you are dealing with at home, and he's going through a lot of difficulties, or you are going through a lot of difficulties with our child, you can ask questions. You can ask, and the most important, as I said earlier, is that develop a communication system, and age related consequences, age related punishment, age related. It means that look at how old the child is now before you can um, try and deal with them. Stop dealing with them as if they're still babies. No, they are no longer, because you will miss what you're trying to convey, the message you're trying to convey to them. So I pray that everyone who listen to this and who has a teenager, or who knows teenagers who are challenging with their parents, that they will help the parents by letting them understand that the time has come maybe to let go of strife, let go of misunderstanding or accusations of your child, let go of you justifying the actions of your child. But the time has come for you to really deal with your child, deal with them directly as a human being who loves another human being, but not as a human being who reproaches a human being and trying to help that human being. If you first remove the reproach on the child, have already gained a big time with them, because a child that is accused would not like to be around anyone accusing them. And you, the parent, if you start accusing your child, how would they want to be around you? They won't want to be around you. They want to be far from you. So if you want to deal with teenagers, everyone wants to deal with teenagers. Remember that teenagers are unique. Teenagers are experiencing turbulent years. That's what I said earlier. Turbulent years, years of turbulence, just like in the plane. When we are in the plane and there's turbulence, what do they say? Fasten your seatbelt. So you, as a parent, the child is going through turbulence, so fasten your seatbelt and help them. Help them be in control. There's not the time to be shouting as if you're out of control. Help them. Be with them at that moment, because that's the moment they need you the most. They're just going through turbulence because of puberty, because of, I would say, psychological changes, physical changes, all these things, world changes or whatever. So they need you more than ever. Oh, wow. Why didn't they ask? Because they are teenagers. They may not come to you and say, "Lord, oh, mom, oh, dad, I need your help." But maybe their behavior is calling for help. I gave you the example of this man that I saw in a movie, on Spike Lee movie, who said to the parents that, "You never looked at me." They never looked at him. All their eyes were only on their brother, and that brother succeeded. So the suffering that he had is that they never looked at him, but then he never told them that. He was now a homeless old man on the street and on drugs, who is coming to tell the parents, "You never looked at me." Imagine what would have changed in the life and fate of that man. Of course, it's fiction, but so much of the fiction happened in reality. So imagine what would have happened if he would have been, um, if he had been able, when he was a teenager, to express that to his parents, that, "Parents, you never look at me. You don't look at me. You only look at that one. You only look at that one." Do you understand? We have to make efforts to listen to our children and to get. You see, some parents don't even want to hear the truth from children. However, knowing the truth, just like the Bible says, when you know the truth, it sets you free. So if it sets you free, it will set your children free, it will set your household free. Know the truth, because the truth sets free. Get to know what you're doing wrong with your teenager so that you can correct yourself. Get to know what you're doing wrong so that you cannot repeat the same mistakes that are hurting them. Get to know what they expect from you as a parent, that will help you to educate them the right way as well. Not an authoritative way, but a way that actually inspires respect from them to you. Get to know your child, get to communicate with your child, get to allow your child to really, really know that My mother, my father cares for me, and therefore I will continue trusting them. And that is good because it won't break that trust. Because trust in families, many families, trust is broken. It is broken. That is the reason why communication is also broken. Interactions between one another is broken. And people are surprised when you hear, oh, someone has become like this. Oh, this has happened. Surprise. What isn't it the family though that is supposed to inform people or the whole world about someone and not the other way around? So I bless you all in the name of Jesus, and I hope that you were blessed by this message. And I pray that until next month, end of February, where I'm going to bring another topic. If you've got questions, send me messages, okay, on the inbox, that I can develop more topics and help each and every one of us here who are parents and also parents to be. Because one day you're going to be a parent. That's not the moment you're going to start educating yourself. So this has to be a message for everyone who is an aspiring parent or a parent already, and who, or even who is taking care of children, or who is an uncle or an auntie. This message is for you. Stay blessed in Jesus' name. Until next time, I'll see you in February by God's grace. End of February.